Okay, we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 20, verse 23. Pittari uparate sopi chakravarti mahayasa mahima giyate tasya harer amsa bhuvo bhuvi. Word for word translation by Srila Prabhupada, His Divine Grace. Pittari, after his father, Upadate, passed away. Saha, the king's son. Api, also. Chakravarti, the emperor. Mahayasa, very famous. Mahima, glories. Giyate, are glorified. Tasya, his. Hare, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Amsha bhuvaha, a partial representation. Bhuvi, upon this earth. Translation. Shukadev Goswami said, when Maharaj Dushmanta passed away from this earth, his son became the emperor of the world, the proprietor of the 7 islands. He is referred to as a partial representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this world. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In Bhagavad Gita 10:41, it is said, Yad yad vibhuti mat sattvam shimad ujitam evava tatadeva vagachatvam mama tejom sa sambhavam. Anyone extraordinarily powerful must be considered a partial representation of the opulence of the Supreme Godhead. Therefore, when the son of Maharaj Dushmanta became the emperor of the entire world, he was celebrated in this way as a partial representation of the opulence of Krishna. Okay, let's admit Akikoji. All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master is opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him again and again and again. Nasta prayeshva bhadrishu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavate uttama shloki bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, everything that is troublesome to the heart becomes almost completely destroyed. And the service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Putale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatadine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay. So we are reading the story of this king, Dushmanta, who by Krishna's arrangement was about to renounce and discard his wife and a newly born child. But then, by Krishna's arrangement, by the ominous voice from the sky, Akashvani, he was brought back to his senses and he accepted them. And then, so today's verse is about his son, Maharaj Bharat. So this planet is called Bharatavarsha, after this particular king. Bharatavarsha, right?
Another Bharat.
That's another Bharat, okay. Ominous voice from the altar corrected me. Yes, that's because I forgot to seek the blessings of the assembled Vaishnavas, to speak only something that is in line with Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Please bless me. Hare Krishna. So, yeah, this story is pretty wild. The king met this woman in the forest. He said, I'd like to enjoy you dharmically in accordance with the laws of religion. And she didn't say anything, which he took as a yes. And after the enjoyment, he left. And it's a long story. It's been told here many times. But anyhow, Krishna, through his voice from the sky, told him that this is your son, take good care of him, because according to the Vedas, the scripture, the son will deliver you, so don't neglect your duty. And so sometimes we may read Srimad Bhagavatam and some things may seem far out, wild, insensitive, inappropriate, but yet those things are somehow approved by the Vedas. And sometimes we may feel uncomfortable when we hear things like that. Hare Krishna. Arjuna Prabhu, thank you very much for coming. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. I'm pretending. So, about feeling uncomfortable by reading Srimad Bhagavatam. I remember when I was first joining the movement, I presented my story to the devotee who was taking care of me. He was a tall brahmachari. His name was Paramananda-puri Das. And I was talking to him. I had my doubts and I had my backstory. I had my traumas and all these feelings of injustices done to me by this world. So when I presented my story to Paramananda-puri Das, he told me, I can't think of the exact words he used, but it was something like, you are not even Alex. That's not even you. And all these difficulties, they're not real. Big deal, he said. Big deal. And I remember this feeling of relief that I experienced. I didn't get disturbed or I didn't get offended by him kind of disregarding my story and my feelings. I felt great relief that finally somebody spoke the truth. Somebody took the courage to speak boldly to me. And somehow or other, he said it with love, and he had my best interest in his heart. And this love and affection that he had for me, even though I was very new and stubborn, this penetrated my heart. It didn't turn me off. It inspired me, and it made me experience this sense of relief that finally this spiritual wisdom is coming into my life. So when we read heavy things in the Bhagavatam, getting disturbed, getting offended is not the only way how we can react to the Supreme Personality of Godhead speaking into our life through Shastra, through the devotees, through the situations and difficulties that we may be going in life. It may be a voice of liberation, a voice of freedom, all these backstories. Mute. Okay. Okay. So does anybody have a reflection at this point? Maybe they felt a great relief when something heavy was spoken to them. No? Would you like me to speak something heavy to you to see how you feel? Yes. You're not this body, Vasudev Prabhu. How heavy is that? So, and then I have, feel, Athena says yes. Thank you for sharing your story, yes. Athena, can you think of what it was that was told to you that made you feel liberated? Feel free to unmute yourself any moment during this class. Arjuna Prabhu. Arjuna Prabhu is laughing. That's the best reward. Okay, Athena, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Ananda-bihari, Babu, Dandavats. So nice to see you to give class this morning. I'm sorry, did you mean what was said to me when I first started in the Krishna Conscious movement, or what part of your story felt liberating?
When something heavy is being told to you, and then the mind goes, let's get offended, let's get disturbed, let's get hurt. But then you turn things around and trying to take it as Krishna's arrangement, Krishna surgically entering into your life and cutting this knot of karma and giving you this liberation from this apparent difficulties and injustices. That was my question. Maybe anyone in the audience had the same experience as I had.
I'll let others respond as I let that process instead.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
Ananda, go ahead.
hi. So one thing I can say is probably not directly, but I think through Prabhupada's purports, while reading chapter 2, where he's really heavy on the existing system of animal worship, and he speaks directly and says how this is condemned in this age because the people are not qualified. And that made a lot of sense to me, because I used to wonder why, how come animal killing, like in the holy land of India, and then we claim to be so very righteous, but at the same time we're having these problems. So I guess that rang true. So Prabhupada's purpose can sometimes be pretty heavy, even the series that we're reading now. But then when we really take it in context, we can see what he means. Just thought I'd share that.
Thank you. Sundarananda Prabhu. Would anyone else like to share their way of dealing with heavy stuff? I wonder if Bhima Prabhu has anything to say. Emily, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Ananda-bihari, Prabhu. So as far as heavy pains that bring a sense of release or relief, recently I was listening to a lecture by Madhavananda Puri, and he said that what kind of disciple are you if you aren't willing to accept chastisement from your guru? And at first I was thinking, oh my God, that's so heavy. But it actually brought a huge sense of relief, because that's exactly the position. That's like what you're going to guru for, is to be corrected, essentially. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, how good does that feel? Because it's so exhausting not having people correct you. You're trying to do things, but you'll never do it. Like you just keep trying. So assistance really is such a relief.
Yeah. Thank you, Emily. Thank you for sharing. It's not a service that devotees sometimes are reluctant to correct and chastise. So I bow down to those devotees who take up the service of lovingly, jokingly correcting others. Bhima Prabhu, I saw your hand raised. Bhima Prabhu, feel free to unmute yourself anytime.
Huddy, huddy.
Howdy.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm in a field, so I may go in and out of audio here. I don't know. I don't have. It's just kind of spontaneous, so it's like I can't recall. I actually can recall many. I mean, my whole education in Krishna consciousness was one of backhands and corrections from Radhanath Maharaj. I battled all the way. But, you know, and so much so, I mean, I became a Sankirtan devotee, a traveling devotee for 8 years. And, you know, we had to deal consistently with troubles, let us just say. And one gets used to the idea that you can either deal with troubles, hurdles, impediments to your devotional service, or to your very comfort within your service. You can deal with them by troubling, or you can deal with them all the time by seeing it simply Krishna. And it's Krishna either playing tricks, or as Chuta Gopi said, he's the king of loopholes. So if you try to get out of something that you know, that you're aware, but if you deal with everything that's troubling to you as coming at you from Krishna, then you are verily, especially in my case, because it was always troubling circumstances due to my stubbornness, you are always seeing Krishna everywhere and in everything. And then after a while, you get to see the sense of humor. That reciprocation is the sense of humor of Krishna. And you also get to correct yourself immediately, because Krishna starts, as John Lennon called it, instant karma. You start to see that when you join Krishna consciousness, especially as a young brahmachari, that the things that you do wrong have instant feedback from Krishna, if you're paying attention, if you're humble enough to say, okay, this is coming from Krishna, this is coming from Krishna, this is coming from Krishna, etc., etc. So I just like to say that if we just simply get a new angle of vision, which is, okay, let me today, Hare Krishna, let me engage in his Krishna's service, and then let me see as everything that comes at me as Krishna, as part of this game that Krishna plays of getting to know him. So it's just a matter of a change of consciousness, just opening yourself up to understanding that once you engage with Krishna, guess who engages back with you? Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhima Prabhu. Yeah, Krishna is Sarva Karna Karanam. Krishna is the prime cause of all causes. It's coming from Krishna. And Krishna is our best friend, and he is all powerful. So we're all in good hands. Okay, we're going to move on. And in the meantime, if you have anything to share, feel free to unmute yourself. So there's this, we were reading about men, women, husband and wife, 50%, mercy, this and that, liberation from hell, putra. And so there's so many, distinctions, so many criterion that were placed upon a person. And but Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita are not about that. It's not a science of how to organize society in a perfect way. It is in a sense, but it's a spiritual science. And spiritually there is no impediment. So and I wanted to back up what I'm saying by some verses. I got 3 verses. One from the Gita, one from the Bhagavad Gita, one from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and one from Chaitanya Charitamrita, the egalitarian verses. Egalitarian means available to anybody. Everybody qualifies. I hope I'm using that term right. Okay, 932, Bhagavad Gita, 932. Striyo Vaishyas Tata Shudras Tepi Yanti Param Gatim. That's the verse. That's the last 2 lines. Those who take shelter in me, Krishna says to Arjuna, though they be of lower birth means women, Vaishyas, merchants, and Shudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination. And we all, ladies and gentlemen, we all fall into this category. We're all in jail. And let's not say, I'm innocent. I'm innocent. Everybody is innocent. Everybody says he's innocent, but somehow or other. So what are you doing in this jail? With your, long criminal record, what's that about? So we all fall into this category. Women, Vaishyas, and Shudras. We're lower than the Shudras. Workers. So, and from the purport, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, it is clearly declared here by the Supreme Lord that in devotional service, there is no distinction between the lower or higher classes of people. In the material conception of life, there are such divisions, putra, hell, etc. But for a person engaged in transcendental devotional service to the Lord, there are not, Srila Prabhupada says. Generally, the association of those born in sinful families is not accepted by the higher classes. So he says there's hierarchies are there, and they keep their segregation. But the process of devotional service is so strong that the pure devotee of the Supreme Lord can enable people of all the lower classes to attain the highest perfection of life. That reminds me of Srila Prabhupada engaging all these wild hippie types in devotional service and making them into pure brahmanas, pure devotees. This is possible only when one takes shelter of Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada gave us an opportunity to take shelter of Krishna and become devotees despite our multiple disqualifications. As indicated here by the word vyapastriya, one has to take shelter completely of Krishna. Vyapastriya. So take full shelter of Krishna, see everything as coming from Krishna, like Bhima Prabhu said, and we'll get purified gradually. So the next verse, the next of the three egalitarian verses, is Srimad Bhagavatam 2:4-18. It's the Kirata Pulinda verse. It's all different nations are all eligible for devotional service. So the verse goes, Kirata, Huna, Andhra, Pulinda, Pulkasha, Abhira, Sumba, Yavana, members of the Kasha races, and even others addicted to sinful acts, that's us, can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord, that's Srila Prabhupada, due to his being the supreme power. Krishna is the supreme power. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him. And Srila Prabhupada says in the commentary, according to the cult of devotion, again, this word cult, don't get turned off by that. This word has a weird connotation, but cult means cultivate, worship. So according to the cult of devotion, generally known as Vaishnava cult, we're all in the cult, known as Vaishnava cult, there is no bar against anyone's advancing in the matter of God realization. A Vaishnava is powerful enough to turn into a Vaishnava, even the Kirata, etc., as above mentioned. The only qualification, what is the only qualification? Who can guess? Is that one takes shelter of a pure devotee. Thank you, Vasudeva Prabhu. So our qualification is that we must take shelter of the pure devotee of the Lord who has thorough knowledge in the transcendental science of Krishna, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. The system of caste, of Varnashram Dharma, hear me out, is no longer regular even amongst the so-called followers of the system. In other words, even in India, those who were born in those families, they're not even practicing Varnashram Dharma properly. It's no longer regular, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport. nor it is now possible to re-establish the institutional function in the present context of social, political, and economic revolution. So in other words, all this Varnashrama system in a strict sense of this term is not possible to re-establish, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport. It's not possible for me to have, I don't know, 5 wives or call myself a Kshatriya or something like that, or for a woman to walk into the fire following her husband. That's not possible, and it's not the idea, that's not the goal. Without any reference, Srila Prabhupada says, to the particular custom of a country, one can be accepted to the Vaishnava cult spiritually. Anyone can be accepted to the Vaishnava cult spiritually, and there is no hindrance in the transcendental process. The injunction of Vaishnava regulation in this connection runs as follows. Archiya Vishnu Shiladir Guru Su Nara Matir. One should not consider the deity of the Lord as worshipped in the temple to be an idol, nor should one consider the authorized spiritual master an ordinary man, nor should one consider a pure Vaishnava to belong to a particular caste or creed, etc. So devotees are beyond the system of gradation of the society. Lord Chaitanya accepted many devotees from communities other than the Varnashramites. He would accept devotees with Muslim background and atheists and drunkards and all that. Everybody is welcome in the cult, in our little commune. Okay, Angel, Angel, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I just, as you're sharing this, it's like in this world and society, or I think as an individual, we want to take ownership of anything, right? So we say, this brush is mine, this car is mine. And when you mention the word cult, it's been polluted to the point where it's the mind sometimes can trick us to believe that it's this dangerous act towards an individual. But as you're sharing all of this, it's like Srila Prabhupada is literally right now my coach. And in life, like he's taught me that everything that my mind says can really, really honestly fool me to believe that I can't lift this weight, that I can't remove this, I don't know, I can't push this 150-pound roller machine on my own with the weights on. But obviously when the words are here and all these things that come up, he's just trying to liberate our minds with for me, I use the Maha Mantra, and but it's all because of Srila Prabhupada, of what he's stated in the Bhagavatam and in the more of the Bhagavad Gita, that I've learned a lot of myself. So it's so interesting how even yesterday, I'm sorry I walked in late, but yesterday when they were talking about women and men, and it was triggering to some point, but in life, everything is triggering. And that's the one thing, like, we have to remember at the end. Before the Maha Mantra, my mantra used to be, I'm not the body, I'm not the emotions, I'm a spiritual being, I am love, love, love. And it's no different from, I guess, from the Maha Mantra to some extent, because the Maha Mantra is literally, love is God, God is love. And he doesn't want to take ownership of any of us. I mean, he doesn't want to teach us to have ownership amongst each other. And the only one that really has ownership of us is our Krishna, our creator. But even him having ownership of us, he gives us the liberty to choose within this material world. What is it that we want to consume? Do we want to consume, the foods, the vegetables, or do we want to consume processed foods, or we want to consume music that's been polluted and lustful and etc. So, and then learning these conditions that I have that are not well for me has brought so much to the surface, to the point where the Maha Mantra has given me that liberty of wow, like I don't have to choose that. I could, or that person really didn't intentionally mean that, or this horrible MRI that I just got that I don't know, it can be cancerous, a tumor in my brain. That's scary, yes, but I'm still here. And if I didn't have that technology, like at the end of the day, Krishna, this is all an illusion. And as long as I do my part with serving, I have an option either to serve God or serve my senses or serve the polluted mind.
Nice.
And
for sharing, Angel. Maha Mantra does liberate. And guess who's the trigger? Bhima Prabhu said it's Krishna. Krishna is the one. Every time we get triggered, we should know it's Krishna on the other side. It's Krishna in us. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
So, who's here? It's Andrea. Andrea says, Hare Krishna. She's watching on YouTube. My experience with harsh truths in Krishna consciousness is that I have been able to better take them in when they are further explained by heartfelt devotees, acknowledging my feelings and explaining it all. Thank you, Andrea. Yeah, I was waiting for your comment, because you always bring this up, you know, heavy subjects in the Bhagavatam. Yeah. Okay. So let me share the third verse that I wanted to share. It's from Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's a third verse out of the three verses that can help us understand that Krishna consciousness is available to anybody, and there is no disqualification or hindrance, Srila Prabhupada says, to one being purified and uplifted to the status of a Vaishnava. It's Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 1380. I am not a Brahmana, Lord Chaitanya says. I am not a Kshatriya. I am not a Vaishya or a Sudra. I am not a brahmachari, nor am I a brahmachari, a householder, a vanaprastha, or a sannyasi. I identify myself only as the servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. This verse was composed by Rupa Goswami at verse 74 of the Padyavali, an anthology of the verses compiled by Srila Rupa Goswami. So Krishna consciousness is available for everybody, and let's not get lost in all these identifications. I'm this, I'm that. I get triggered by this, and I get triggered by that. Krishna is the one pulling the trigger, right? And Srila Prabhupada did not write a separate commentary for women. There's only one Srimad Bhagavatam. Men, women, horses. Bhima Prabhu can relate. His horses attend class every morning. So yeah, so that's all that I wanted to share today. Would anyone else would like to contribute to this class? Emily, I second what Andrea said. The importance of having association with those who can and will explain things to us in a way that is heartfelt, as well as finding those who can speak it in a way that personally speaks to our heart and mind. Yeah, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra always come together. If it was just a book, Bhagavad Gita, but there was no Srila Prabhupada, this movement wouldn't have started. It took a pure devotee to start the movement. Because there were translations of the Bhagavad Gita in this in the Western world before Srila Prabhupada brought his translation. The Bhagavad Gita had been there, but it took a pure devotee who could relate to the hippie types and sincerely reach out to the lost souls of the Western world. It always takes a devotee. And I think of Srila Prabhupada when I read this, what Emily shared. Agape, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I've definitely had a lot of moments reading Srila Prabhupada's purports where I've even gotten like upset with him or mad at him, like, why do I have to accept this? And I just wanted to share something that I really like that Vasudeva Prabhu said recently in Bhakti Shastri. When we were reading the Bhagavad Gita introduction, Srila Prabhupada says one should at least theoretically accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Vasudeva Prabhu took that a step further. He said, if we're going to be taking Srila Prabhupada's words here, we should at least theoretically accept him as a pure devotee of Krishna, and that he has the authority for us to surrender to his words. And that I wish I'd heard that statement at the beginning of my Krishna consciousness. I was fortunate to have another Prabhu who I was like studying the Srimad Bhagavatam with, and when we'd come across something we couldn't explain, he'd say, let's just put that on the shelf. So that helped me as well. It's like, okay, if I can't agree with this right now, I don't have to like reject it. I can just put it on the shelf. And the last thing I wanted to say was like, as far as specific things I've had to deal with, is like from the very beginning, I came in with a very impersonal mindset. And I thought that no religion had it figured out with my own personal experience. So just accepting that God is personal and that I have to worship him, and that people actually know what's going on. Like that was really hard for me to accept, but my visceral experience made it to where I had to keep trying to practice devotional service. And I guess I gained that adhikar after an amount of time. So thank you, Prabhu. I really enjoyed this discussion.
Thank you, Agape. Yeah, let's keep on serving Krishna, building up our adhikar. I had a similar difficulty. I was having difficulty understanding. I went to work at that time, and how is it that I'm here in the temple room worshiping a tree, Tulsi Puja, a plant? I understand, Krishna, God, deity on the altar, but the plant. I was really having difficulties. I was counting minutes, 15 minutes. Worshiping a plant in the morning. So yeah. Tulsi Maharani, Hare Krishna, please forgive my offenses. Hare Krishna. Shikshashtaka Prabhu, Hare Krishna. He says, the definition of cult is a particular system of religious worship, especially with reference to its rites and ceremonies. It's the root of culture. Yes, Shikshashtaka Prabhu, thank you. Origin of cult, latent cultus habilitation, tilling, refinement. Worship equivalent to cult, variant stem of caller to inhabit. Till worship, suffix. Thank you, Shikshashtaka Prabhu. Yeah, it's really great. Yeah. We're all in the cult. Gail.
Hare Krishna?
Gail, yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
No. I don't have anything. Sorry.
You don't want to glorify Krishna? We have to wake you up at night, and then you should be able to say something. For example, how wonderful is Krishna? Right?
Well, I want to share something real quick about the earlier topic, Ananda-bihari Prabhu, about hearing something that's hard. So last week around this time, like Friday last week, I was helping out Adi with the serve out outside Tompkins Square Park. So and I was there. I was trying to pour the tea, the hot tea that he makes, and then Angel came there. Angel who helps, and I hadn't seen Angel, so he came along and he was there to try to direct the crowd. So what first impression I got, that Angel was just someone who was standing in line, but he decided to come forward to help volunteer to do crowd control. So then, one person from the crowd, how they come and have their bottles, and he said, please fill these bottles up. So he gave 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 bottles. And then so I was in this usual mode of trying to regulate the whole thing and making sure it lasts for everyone. So I told Angel, I can just do 2 bottles, and then we'll wait until everyone's done, and then we'll give more. So Angel, of course, had been there, he's been there, and I didn't know him. So he said, no, don't worry about it. I just give it to him. It's fine. Because he knew, how much would last. And I kept saying, no, we need to wait. And again, I was thinking Angel was someone who was there from the crowd. So, and finally, Angel just like grabbed it and said, give him the bottles. And then he filled it all up and gave it to him. And I was just like speechless. So then Adi came, and he told me that, Angel's been there with us for a while, for more than a year. So he's just trying to help out. And in my mind, I wanted to see if this thing I wanted to prove to myself that there wasn't enough tea. So I just kept saying, so I was waiting for it to run out, so I could say, look, it ran out. And that thing, it kept coming. It just wouldn't end. There was so much tea. And at the end, we were all done and loading it back into the vehicle, and there was still tea left in there. So that's when I realized that, just go with what people say and don't think too much.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Yeah, I personally enjoy those crushing experiences that Krishna gives me sometimes. We say something harsh to a devotee, and then the situation it turns out in such a way that we have to, we feel terrible that, oh my God, what a fool I am. What a fool I am. Okay. Jamuna Jaya says, Emily says, also a big thank you, and you rock, to yourself, Tulsi Rani and Godrum Pran for taking on the first few in-person Srimad Bhagavatam classes in this section of harsh topics. You guys rock. Hare Krishna. Krishna rocks. Jamuna Jaya says, I agree with you, Emily. Thanks to all of those who have brought us back into the temple. Yes, Srila Prabhupada, what he had to go through to establish this first temple in this country, it's unbelievable. I wish I had more time. I would share some, because I'm reading that in the Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita, how much struggle he had to undergo to get these temples established. And it's so wonderful that we can come in person. There is nothing like an in-person class by the devotees and for the devotees who are living and serving together. Yes, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay, so darshan is about to start. Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Hare Krishna. Don't tune out, we're going to have some darshan. See, can you put it on?